We have a wet pan flashing, a flexible pan flashing, and a rigid sill pan flashing. Or the rigid sill, we use caulk bead on the exterior, discontinuous by 2 inches, and then continue across, and then go to the opposite side again and with a discontinuous 2 inch. Go along the jamb side where the jamb leg will sit up against, and you'll see that later on when we do the install. And make sure, this is very important, that you want to have a continuous bead on the interior all the way along on the interior. Now that our sill panning is in place, we've applied some shims underneath your jamb legs so that your door will sit just proud of the sill pan. You're going to want to take your sealant and attach the sealant bead to that corner and ride it all the way up and go on all 4 sides of the rough opening, just on the substrate edge, so that you make sure you have your nailing flange holes that will be covered with the sealant. Okay, you want to make sure that your measurements are correct before you drag this thing up into the rough opening. We'll set it in from the bottom up. The jamb legs are sitting on the sill shims on each side. We're going to push it into place. We'll have one person on the inside getting the left to right centered so that we have a good rough opening gap. You want to put 1 screw at the top to keep the door from falling out on each corner. And then we'll have a laser set up and make sure that your sill is completely level and your side jambs are completely square and plumb, so that you can apply screws through every second hole of the nail flange. And in coastal applications, you would apply a screw in through every hole, and they would be 2 inches, and they'd also be stainless steel. When you're putting your screws into your nail flange, especially on outswing doors, you don't want to have the screws go at too much of an angle. You're going to bow the jamb out, and you're going to have wide cavities in between your doors. So you want to make sure that these screws go in as straight as possible. Okay, once you've fastened the door in from the exterior, you want to be on the interior and take some neoprene or composite shims and get them behind every hinge. What I also did is I backed it 1 inch, 2 inches back from the nailing flange, so later on you can get your foam back inside there real well. And some people will even take the shims right out after all the foaming is complete. There's going to be a little package attached to every door combination set. They're going to be attached to the door panels. There's shims in there. There's your construction handle that you're going to need to open and close the door. Construction handle goes right there. There's long screws and shims that we're going to show you where they apply. There's some discolored screws, and every hinge has a couple of them, and you'll want to take them out. In the package again, there's going to be longer black screws. You want to snug the long screws up against the hinge, and so that if you over tighten them, you're going to have too much of a gap at the center of the panels. If you under tighten them, the panels will hit each other at the center. This hinge here is non-adjustable, but we have adjustment leaves in the back side, and it has a discolored screw again in it. You want to replace those discolored screws with a long screw. Just going to show you the adjustable. There's your shim that goes in there, and every hinge will have one. There'll be one in here, and there'll also be a hinge shim in behind here, so you have room for it to go back and forth. Critical part of this will be that if you over tighten these screws and haven't applied enough shims in the backside, you're going to spread the frame apart and having a wide gap at the center of the panels. We have an adjustable hinge. It has a screw right in there, and it's preferred to use a hand screwdriver, and this center hinge goes vertical. You can turn this 70 times, it'll pull the panel up or down. And then we go to the top hinge. It's got a screw right in there. It says an H, that's for horizontal, and that'll pull your panel left to right. And again, use a hand screwdriver and get right in there. And you may even want to have somebody hold the panel at the left side or at the other opposite side. When you're doing this, it makes it a little easier, and then they don't strip. So that'll bring your panel left to right. Putting a screw in through the center sill, somewhat important for your sill not to hump up at the center and drag on your door panels. Okay, the bottom plate will have a couple screws in at the center. You want to take them out. They're going to be short screws. You're going to want to apply long screws through there. And you may even want to pre-drill it all the way through your sill pan, get some sealant, 100% clear silicone, get it into those holes, and you want to get it good and full, going right down to your sill plate, onto your sill panning. Often you'll even see it come back here, so that you know you'll have a good seal back there. And we use the long screws that are in the package, and you can tighten the screws right down. You'll want to do the same thing to the top as you did to the bottom. Put the plate back into place here, and you'll put the long screws in here too. And you'll just want to tighten it up. You notice I've got shims back here so that you don't over tighten it. And once the door is installed, you want to make sure that your sill pan is sealed to the sill itself, and you want to drive a sealant bead in here right down to the corner of the sill pan. Go all the way to the other side. Get yourself a tool of some sort and tool it back and forth. So you want to make sure that you have a positive seal between your sill pan and your sill. Okay, the door is completely installed, and we want to foam the interior. You want to get your foam gun all the way to the nail flange, bring it back approximately 1 inch, and you want to foam the exterior part 2 inches. You don't need to foam the entire cavity for the few reasons. One little tip is that if you foam the entire cavity, you will have less chance of ever adjusting your jambs with your screws, because it'll be a solid shim back there. And some might even want to take the shim out after your foam is completed, or you want to leave your shim in, and you just want to make sure that you can get around that shim from the back side and from the bottom side, so you can get all the way to the flange. Okay, once you've got the interior completely finished off, you got the bottom sealed up, you got all your foaming done on the interior, the last thing you'll want to do is get yourself flashing, bring it up the side, bring it approximately 4 inches from the top of the panel door frame up to here. All right, again, the opposite side, you want to go along here nicely. You'll again 4 inches, so you have a weatherboard fashion later on. Okay, you want to get the top over here by 1 inch and a minimum 1 inch over there. So it'll look like a weatherboard fashion like that. Okay, you get yourself a J-roller, and you want to make sure you J-roll this all down, get all the air bubbles back out of there. All the creases, flatten them out real good and flat. Get a nice tight seal up against your vapor barrier and against your flanging. I figured to give you a little conclusion. The sill panning system is going to be critical for your whole bottom to seal properly, that you don't want to have any water coming into your building. You may even want to get a sill pan that slopes towards the exterior. That would be another step. The shimming is going to be critical for you because of the gapping that you get into here. That's all going to be dependent on how you shim or don't shim the door, and how you tighten the screws or not tighten the screws. Look at your sight lines, your tops and your sides are going to be all straight, level. It's not going to swing out like it's going to slam you or anything like that. It's going to stay where it's supposed to be. The package that goes with the door is vital to your install. It's going to have your long screws in there. It's going to have your shims in there. It's also going to be important for you to take those discolored screws out of there that we get calls on often. Make sure those screws get taken out, the long screws get put in. You'll have a proper reveal if you can tighten that jamb back where you need to, and you'll have also a nice reveal at this side of it. So that's some of the things that we would just like to share, and hope your install goes well.